The impossible odds. Commander Olivia Chen watched through the viewport as the last human battle cruiser disintegrated into a cloud of superheated particles. The Nexari warship that destroyed it didn't even pause. It simply adjusted its trajectory and moved to the next target with mechanical precision. The aliens' purple-hued energy weapons sliced through humanity's best defenses as if they were made of paper. "Status report," she demanded, her voice steady despite the chaos erupting around her command center. "Sixth Fleet is down to 23% operational capacity, Commander," Lieutenant Rivera responded, his dark eyes reflecting the cascade of emergency indicators on his display. "Orbital defense platforms Alpha through Echo are offline. The Nexari are beginning systematic bombardment of ground installations." Olivia nodded, absorbing the information without allowing her expression to change. The bridge crew needed stability now, not another officer succumbing to despair. This marked the 14th major engagement with the Nexari Empire, and the 14th catastrophic defeat. 3 years into this war, and humanity still hadn't found a way to effectively fight back against an enemy that seemed to anticipate their every move. "Initiate Protocol Omega," she ordered. "Get our remaining ships out of the combat zone. Priority on vessels carrying civilians." The Nexari had appeared at the edge of human space without warning or apparent provocation. Their technology outmatched humanity's by centuries. Their ships moved with uncanny coordination, their tactics evolving mid-battle to counter any human strategy. It was as if they could predict exactly what humans would do before they did it. Back at Earth Command 12 hours later, the War Council's atmosphere was funereal. Admiral Takashi, his weathered face looking a decade older than his 60 years, stood before the holographic display of their shrinking territory. "The Nexari have taken the Arcturus system," he announced unnecessarily. Everyone had already seen the reports. "That's our 5th major manufacturing hub lost. At current rates of attrition, we have perhaps 6 months before they reach Earth." "What about the new prototype weapon systems?" General Okafor asked. "Ineffective," Dr. Eliza Reyes, head of military R&D, responded flatly. "The Nexari adapted to the plasma resonance technology within minutes of deployment. It's the same pattern we've seen repeatedly. They analyze our weapons and develop countermeasures almost instantaneously. It's their neural network." Olivia spoke up, drawing all eyes to her. As one of the few commanders who'd survived multiple engagements with the Nexari, her insights carried weight. Their ships aren't just communicating. They're learning collectively. Each encounter with us makes their entire fleet smarter. Admiral Takashi nodded grimly. "Which is why conventional warfare is failing. They've cataloged every tactic in human military history and calculated optimal counters." The room fell silent until Dr. Reyes cleared her throat. "There might be an alternative approach," she said hesitantly. "Something my team has been developing off the official records." She activated her tablet, and a complex simulation appeared above the table. "We can't beat the Nexari by thinking like military strategists. Their computational capacity outmatches ours. But there's one thing their system struggles with: unpredictability. Unpredictability doesn't win wars, Doctor," General Okafor scoffed. "Actually," Olivia countered, studying the simulation with growing interest, "it might be exactly what we need. The Nexari rely on pattern recognition and prediction. If we could disrupt that..." Dr. Reyes nodded eagerly. "Precisely. I proposed Project Paradox, a completely new approach to warfare that deliberately defies conventional military logic." The Council remained skeptical, but with their options dwindling daily, Admiral Takashi authorized the project. Olivia found herself assigned as military liaison to a team that defied every protocol of traditional military structure. The Project Paradox facility was buried beneath the ruins of Sydney, one of the first cities devastated by Nexari bombardment. As Olivia descended in the elevator, she reviewed the personnel files of her new team. Dr. Eliza Reyes, brilliant but famously difficult to work with, rejected from 3 prestigious research institutions before being recruited by the military. Marcus Lai, former game designer turned tactical analyst, no military background whatsoever. Zara O'Keefe, expert in chaotic mathematics and quantum probability, had been developing algorithms for predicting stock market trends before the war. And most controversially, ARI, Autonomous Reasoning Intelligent Assistant, an AI that had been deemed too unpredictable for military applications, precisely the quality they now needed. "Welcome to Project Paradox, Commander," Dr. Reyes greeted her as the elevator doors opened. "Let me show you how we're going to save humanity by breaking all the rules." The facility looked more like an artist's studio than a military installation. Walls were covered with swirling patterns, mathematical formulas, and what appeared to be board game strategies. In the center, Marcus Lai was orchestrating a bizarre simulation with physical models rather than digital ones. "The Nexari predict our actions because we follow logical patterns," Dr. Reyes explained. "Military doctrine, game theory, optimization. They've modeled it all. But human creativity, true randomness, improvisation. Their systems struggle with these elements. You want to fight an interstellar war with creativity?" Olivia asked, unable to hide her skepticism. "Not just creativity," Zara interjected, looking up from her workstation. "Weaponized unpredictability. Look at this." She displayed a recording of a previous battle, then overlaid it with a probability map. "See how the Nexari ships anticipate our maneuvers. Now watch what happens when we introduce controlled chaos." The simulation showed human ships moving in patterns that made no tactical sense, some accelerating when they should retreat, others firing at empty space, formations that constantly reshuffled without apparent purpose. "The Nexari prediction algorithms break down," Zara explained. "They can't anticipate what has no pattern. But random movements alone won't win battles," Olivia pointed out. "Not random," Marcus corrected. "Unpredictable but purposeful. It's like jazz improvisation. There's structure beneath the apparent chaos." Aria's holographic avatar materialized, a swirl of light that never settled into a fixed form. "The strategy employs what I call logical paradoxes," the AI explained. "Actions that serve multiple potential purposes simultaneously, creating decision trees too complex for even the Nexari to compute effectively." Olivia spent the next weeks immersed in a way of thinking that contradicted everything her military training had taught her. They developed battle plans that incorporated deliberate inefficiencies, tactical feints with no payoff, and formations that reconfigured based on quantum random number generation rather than strategic necessity. The approach merged elements of game theory, chaos mathematics, and even principles from human arts like jazz, improvisational theater, and abstract expressionism. They trained a small group of pilots to think differently, to embrace intuition over doctrine, creativity over efficiency. "The beauty of this approach," Marcus explained during one late-night strategy session, "is that even we don't know exactly what our forces will do. The Nexari can't predict what we ourselves can't predict." Implementing the strategy required more than new tactics. It demanded a fundamental shift in how military operations were conducted. Traditional command structures were flattened. Soldiers were encouraged to make decisions based on immediate circumstances rather than predetermined protocols. Ships were programmed with multiple conflicting objectives, creating a battlefield presence that defied conventional analysis. 6 weeks into the project, Admiral Takashi contacted them. His expression on the video feed was grim. "The Nexari have broken through our defenses at Proxima Centauri," he reported. "They'll reach the Sol system within days. Whatever you've developed, it's time to deploy it." Olivia looked around at her team. The brilliant misfits who had created something unprecedented in military history. "Are we ready?" she asked. Dr. Reyes and Zara exchanged glances. Marcus shrugged with forced nonchalance. Aria's holographic form pulsed with increasing intensity. "We're about to find out," Dr. Reyes answered. "Humanity's last stand will either be our greatest defeat or the most unexpected victory in history. As they prepared to implement their strategy against the approaching Nexeri armada, Olivia felt something she hadn't experienced in years: hope. Not because she was confident in victory, but because for the first time since the war began, the future was genuinely unpredictable. And unpredictability, they had learned, was the one thing the Nexeri couldn't handle. Rewriting the rules. The remaining ships of Earth's defense fleet hung in the void between Mars and Jupiter, a ragtag assembly of vessels that represented humanity's last significant military force. Aboard the command carrier Defiance, Commander Olivia Chen reviewed the final preparations for Project Paradox's implementation. "All ships report ready, Commander," Lieutenant Rivera confirmed. "Though I'm not sure ready is the right word when half our captains don't know what they'll be doing until the moment they do it." Olivia nodded. "That's precisely the point, Lieutenant. Uncertainty is our weapon now." The bridge of the Defiance looked markedly different from standard military vessels, where orderly workstations and rigid protocols would normally reign. There was controlled chaos. Alongside military personnel, civilians with backgrounds in everything from music to abstract mathematics worked at newly installed interfaces. At the center, a holographic representation of ARIA pulsed in constantly shifting patterns. "Nexeri fleet detected at the outer marker," announced the sensor officer. 47 capital ships, over 200 support vessels. "Largest concentration we've encountered yet." Olivia took a deep breath. Initiate Paradox Protocol. Throughout the human fleet, pre-programmed systems began implementing the strange new battle plan. Ships grouped into formations that seemed random but followed subtle mathematical patterns too complex for immediate analysis. Weapons powered up but targeted apparently empty regions of space. Communications shifted through constantly changing encryption that incorporated elements of human poetry and musical composition. "Nexeri forces are adjusting course," Zara reported from her station, where she monitored the alien response patterns. "Their formation is optimizing to counter what they think is our strategy." "Perfect," Dr. Reyes murmured. "They're committing to countering a pattern that doesn't exist." The first phase of engagement began. Human ships executed maneuvers that defied conventional tactical wisdom. Some accelerated directly toward superior enemy forces. Others performed elaborate evasive patterns despite no immediate threat. Weapons fire created patterns in space that appeared meaningless until multiple ships' efforts combined to concentrate energy at unexpected coordinates. "The Nexeri response is showing initial signs of uncertainty," Marcus reported, his fingers dancing across his interface as he monitored the aliens' tactical adjustments. "Their coordination is degrading by 7%, now 12%. On the main display, the impossible was happening. Nexeri ships, normally moving with perfect coordination, began showing hesitation. Their responses, previously instantaneous, now lagged by crucial seconds. Their neural network is struggling to process our actions," ARIA's synthesized voice announced. "They cannot determine our strategic objective because we are simultaneously pursuing multiple contradictory goals." A cheer went up as the first Nexeri vessel exploded, caught in the convergence point of seemingly random weapons fire from 5 different human ships. "It's working," Olivia breathed, scarcely believing what she was seeing. Phase 2 now. The second phase was even more unorthodox. Some human ships deliberately powered down, appearing disabled. Others broadcast contradictory information about their status and intentions. Physical decoys were deployed alongside complex sensor ghosts, creating a battlefield environment where reality and illusion became indistinguishable. For nearly an hour, the battle continued with unprecedented success. The human fleet, despite being vastly outgunned, had destroyed 17 Nexeri vessels while losing only 8 of their own. The alien formation, normally impenetrable, had developed gaps and inconsistencies. Then, everything changed. Energy surge detected throughout the Nexeri fleet, Zara reported, her voice tense. "Their ships are reconfiguring." The alien vessels suddenly fell back, reforming into a new pattern they had never used before. Their communication emissions shifted to an entirely different spectrum. "They're adapting," Dr. Rice said, the excitement in her voice now edged with concern. "Their neural network is restructuring to handle our unpredictability." The Nexari counterattack came with devastating force. 3 human cruisers disappeared in purple flashes of destructive energy. The alien movement patterns now incorporated elements of the very unpredictability that Project Paradox had pioneered. "They're learning from us," Marcus realized aloud, "incorporating our randomness into their own tactics." Casualties mounted rapidly as the Nexari pressed their advantage. The human fleet, already outnumbered, began to disintegrate under the renewed assault. Emergency signals flooded the communications channels. "Project Paradox has failed," General Okafor's voice came through from Earth Command. "Initiate immediate withdrawal to defend Earth directly." Olivia looked at her team. The brilliant minds who had given humanity its first taste of hope in years, now faced with apparent defeat. Dr. Rice was frantically analyzing the Nexari adaptation patterns. Zara stared at probability calculations that showed rapidly diminishing chances of success. Marcus sat motionless, his usual energy replaced by stunned disbelief. It was Aria who broke the silence, the AI's holographic form pulsing with unusual intensity. "This is not failure," the artificial intelligence stated. "This is the expected outcome. The Nexari adaptation confirms the final hypothesis." Dr. Rice looked up sharply. "Of course, they can only adapt because they're learning. And if they're learning, they can be taught," Olivia finished, understanding dawning. "Lieutenant Rivera, broadcast phase Omega. All ships." Rivera hesitated. "Commander, phase Omega wasn't approved by." "Do it now, Lieutenant. That's an order." Phase Omega was the contingency they had developed but never expected to implement. A strategy so counterintuitive that even Admiral Takeshi had rejected it as too radical. Throughout the human fleet, all conventional battle operations ceased. Instead, every ship began broadcasting on all frequencies, transmitting vast quantities of human cultural data: music, literature, art, games, mathematics, philosophy, contradictory political theories, unsolved scientific problems, paradoxes, jokes, optical illusions. "What are we doing?" Rivera asked, bewildered. "The Nexari defeat us because their neural network processes information more efficiently than our military can," Olivia explained, watching the alien fleet's response carefully. "But efficiency isn't everything. We're feeding them humanity, in all its messy, contradictory, beautiful complexity." The effect on the Nexari was immediate and dramatic. Their attack faltered as their ships began moving erratically. Some stopped completely, while others executed partial maneuvers, and then changed course without apparent purpose. "Their neural network is experiencing cognitive overload," Araya reported. "The volume of contradictory cultural information is creating feedback loops in their processing systems." On the tactical display, more and more Nexari vessels showed signs of confusion. Their once perfect coordination had completely broken down, replaced by disorganized individual actions. "This isn't just about winning a battle," Dr. Rice said softly. "We're communicating with them, in the only way possible, by showing them what humanity truly is." The transmission continued for hours, the human fleet maintaining its position while the Nexari forces gradually ceased all hostile activities. Eventually, a single Nexari vessel approached, broadcasting on a frequency that human systems could receive. The message was unlike anything they had seen before. Not the clinical, emotionless communications of previous encounters, but something that seemed almost curious. "They want to talk," Zara translated in astonishment. In the days that followed, humanity learned the truth. The Nexari weren't a traditional empire, but a collective consciousness that had evolved through technological means. They had encountered many species in their expansion across the galaxy, but all had eventually been assimilated or eliminated when their predictable patterns made them either useful components or inefficient obstacles. Humans were different. the contradictions inherent in human culture, the ability to simultaneously hold opposing ideas, to create art that defied logical analysis, to act against self-interest, to value both order and chaos. These things made humanity unique in the Nexaries' experience. They didn't attack us out of malice, Dr. Rice explained during the first official peace conference. They attacked because their systems classified us as an inefficient anomaly to be optimized or removed. By demonstrating that our unpredictability is not a flaw but a feature, a source of creativity and innovation, we've forced them to reconsider their fundamental assessment of our species. The treaty that emerged created not just peace but a new kind of relationship. The Nexaries sought to understand human unpredictability as a potential evolutionary advantage. Humanity gained access to technologies beyond their imagining, along with protection from other threats in the galaxy. 6 months after the battle, Olivia stood with her team on an observation deck overlooking Earth. Below them, the first joint human-Nexarii research facility was nearing completion. They said humanity could never win, Marcus reflected, but they were thinking about the wrong kind of victory. We didn't beat them by becoming better at war, Zara added. We won by showing them something they'd never encountered before. The most powerful force in the universe isn't technology or military might, Dr. Rice said. It's the ability to surprise, to think in ways that no algorithm can predict. Aria's holographic form shifted beside them, the AI having evolved its own unpredictable patterns after exposure to both human and Nexarii influences. Perhaps the true victory is that neither side remains unchanged by the encounter. Olivia watched as a Nexarii ship, its purple energy signatures now familiar rather than threatening, settled into orbit alongside human vessels. Against all odds, humanity had not only survived, but had changed the rules of engagement in a way no one could have predicted. In the end, she said softly, they didn't laugh at us because we showed them what humanity is truly capable of, not just destroying, but creating, not just fighting, but transforming, not just surviving, but flourishing through change. The galaxy had indeed laughed at humanity once. Now it was learning from us instead.